The massive doors of the Galactic Council chambers slid open with a deep rumble. Supreme Commander Velthar walked through them with long, confident steps. His purple skin gleamed under the bright lights, and his 4 arms moved in perfect rhythm as he approached the central command table. Around the table sat the most powerful beings in this part of the galaxy. The Valtharian Empire controlled over 300 star systems. They had conquered dozens of smaller species and turned their worlds into mining colonies. For 200 years, no one had dared to challenge them. "What news do you bring from the outer systems?" asked General Morvac, his second-in-command. The older Valtharian's scarred face showed years of battle experience. Velthar placed a small data crystal on the table. The holographic display activated, showing a star map of the frontier regions. A small red dot blinked near the edge of Valtharian space. "A human ship," Velthar said with amusement in his voice. "Just one vessel. They call it the UES Indomitable." Several officers around the table laughed. Humans were known throughout the galaxy as a young species. They had only left their home world 2 centuries ago. Their territory was small, maybe 30 star systems at most. Most empires barely considered them worth noticing. "What do they want?" asked Admiral Zorvex, leaning forward in her chair. "Safe passage through our space," Velthar replied. "They say they have a diplomat on board, someone named Jiwan Park. She wants to reach Kepler Station for some peace talks." More laughter filled the room. Kepler Station was a neutral trading post 3 systems away. It would take the human ship 2 days to go around Valtharian space. Instead, they wanted to cut through the heart of the Empire's territory. "The audacity," muttered General Morvac. "Do they think we are some minor trading federation?" Admiral Cuman Lee sat quietly in the corner of the room. Unlike the others, he was human. 20 years ago, the Valtharians had captured him during a border skirmish. Instead of killing him, they had been impressed by his tactical skills. Now he served as their advisor on human affairs. Cuman watched the discussion with growing concern. He knew his fellow officers well. They saw humans as primitive and weak. This was a dangerous mistake. "Supreme Commander," Cuman said, standing up slowly, "I recommend caution." The room fell silent. All eyes turned to the human. Velthar's expression darkened. "Explain yourself, Admiral Lee." Cuman walked to the holographic display. His hands moved over the controls, bringing up data about human space. "Humans may seem weak, but they are not stupid," he said carefully. "They know they are surrounded by hostile empires. They know we could crush their entire fleet. Yet they send one ship through our space." "Your point?" Velthar's voice carried a warning. "Why would they take such a risk? Either they are incredibly foolish, or they know something we do not." "General," Morvac slammed his fist on the table. "You speak like a coward, Lee. Have you forgotten your place?" Cuman's jaw tightened, but he remained calm. "I have not forgotten anything, General. I am simply advising caution when dealing with an unknown." Velthar studied the star map for a moment. The human ship was still 3 hours away from the first Valtharian patrol zone. They had time to decide how to respond. "What do you know about this ship?" Velthar asked. Cuman activated another display. Limited information about the UES Indomitable appeared. Length, crew size, apparent weapon systems. "Very little," Cuman admitted. "It appears to be a diplomatic vessel, lightly armed, crew of about 200, but the humans classify many of their ship details as restricted information." "Of course they do," laughed Admiral Zorvex. "They want to hide how weak they really are." Cuman shook his head. "That is not the human way, Admiral. They are usually very open about their capabilities. When they hide something, it is because they have good reason." Velthar waved his hand dismissively. "Enough speculation. Here is what we will do." He pointed to the star map. "We will intercept this human ship with Battle Group 7. 200 vessels, including the Dreadnought Devastator. We will offer them a choice. Surrender peacefully and submit to protective custody, or be destroyed." "And if they surrender?" asked General Morvac. "Then we learn what we can from them and send them home with a message. The Valtharian Empire does not grant passage to uninvited guests." And if they refuse? Velthar's four eyes glowed with anticipation. Then we demonstrate why no species challenges us twice. The meeting broke up 20 minutes later. Officers filed out to prepare their ships and crews. Cumin remained behind, staring at the holographic display. Velthar noticed him still standing there. You seem troubled, Admiral Lee. I am, Supreme. Commander. Speak freely. Cumin turned to face his commander. I have served the Empire faithfully for 20 years. I have never questioned your orders, but I fear we are making a mistake. How so? Humans do not bluff, Supreme Commander. If they sent one ship into our space, they believe that ship can handle whatever we send against it. Velthar laughed, a deep, rumbling sound. One ship, Lee. One ship against 200 of our finest vessels. What possible technology could they have that would give them such confidence? Cumin had no answer for that. He had wondered the same thing for hours. Human technology was advanced in some areas. Their computers were excellent, their engines efficient, but their weapons were conventional. Their ships were smaller than Valtharian vessels. Their numbers were tiny compared to any major empire. Perhaps you are right, Cumin said finally. Perhaps they are simply desperate. Or perhaps, Velthar said with amusement, they have finally decided to surrender their independence. Some species prefer to submit before they are conquered. It saves lives on both sides. 3 hours later, Battle Group 7 departed from the Kronos naval base. 200 ships formed up in perfect formation around the massive dreadnought Devastator. It was an impressive sight, enough firepower to level a planet. Admiral Zorvex commanded the battle group from the Devastator's bridge. She had personally requested this assignment. Capturing a human diplomatic ship would look good on her service record. The human vessel appeared on their sensors 20 minutes later. It was exactly where their intelligence had predicted, following a direct course through Valtharian space, toward Kepler Station. All ships, this is Admiral Zorvex, she announced over the communication system. Form attack formation Alpha 7. Target the human vessel, but do not fire until I give the order. 200 ships moved into position around the lone human vessel. It continued on its course without changing speed or direction. Human vessel, Admiral Zorvex broadcast on all frequencies. This is Admiral Zorvex of the Valtharian Imperial Navy. You are trespassing in restricted space. Cut your engines and prepare to be boarded. For several minutes there was no response. Then a calm voice answered over the communication channel. Admiral Zorvex, this is Captain Do-Hyun Kim of the United Earthship Indomitable. We are on a diplomatic mission to Kepler Station. We have requested safe passage through your space through proper channels. Your request has been denied, Zorvex replied. Surrender immediately or face the consequences. Another pause. When Captain Kim spoke again, his voice remained perfectly calm. Admiral, I must respectfully decline your demand. We are traveling through neutral space lanes under established galactic law. I strongly advise you to reconsider your aggressive stance. Admiral Zorvex looked around her bridge in amazement. Several officers were laughing quietly. The human captain was actually trying to negotiate while surrounded by 200 warships. Captain Kim, she said with mock politeness, look around you. Count the ships targeting your vessel. Do you really think you are in a position to make demands? I am making no demands, Admiral. I am simply following interstellar law and requesting that you do the same. However, I must inform you that if you continue this aggressive behavior, I will be forced to implement defensive measures. The bridge erupted in laughter. Even Admiral Zorvex smiled. Defensive measures? What could one small ship do against an entire battle fleet? You have 30 minutes to surrender, she announced. After that, we will take your ship by force. The communication channel went silent. The human ship continued on its course, showing no signs of fear or panic. Admiral Zorvex settled back in her command chair to wait. This would be the easiest victory of her career. The combined fleet of 800 ships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. Emperor Thane commanded from his flagship, the mighty dreadnought Eternal Glory. Supreme Commander Velthar and Trademaster Corvin each brought their most powerful vessels, This was the largest military force assembled in over a century. Sensors report one human ship, exactly where we expected, announced the tactical officer. Emperor Thane studied the holographic display. The lone human vessel sat motionless in space, apparently waiting for them. "Are they insane?" muttered Trademaster Corvin from his bridge. "Perhaps they finally understand they cannot win," suggested Supreme Commander Velthar over the communication channel. But Admiral Cumin Lee, still serving as advisor to the Valtharian Empire, felt a growing sense of dread. He stood on the bridge of Velthar's command ship, watching the displays with increasing concern. "Supreme Commander," Lee said quietly, "something is wrong." "What do you mean?" "The human ship is exactly where we expected it to be. It made no attempt to run or hide. It is waiting for us." "So?" "Sir, no commander positions his ship to be surrounded unless he has a very good reason." Velthar dismissed the warning. "Admiral Lee, they are outnumbered 800 to 1. What possible reason could they have for confidence?" Lee had no answer, but his unease continued to grow. Emperor Thane opened a communication channel to the human ship. "Human vessel, this is Emperor Thane of the Zephyrian Confederation. You are surrounded by the combined fleets of 3 empires. Surrender immediately or face complete destruction." Captain Kim's calm voice responded immediately. "Emperor Thane, this is Captain Kim of the UES Indomitable. I am disappointed that you have chosen to bring such overwhelming force against a single diplomatic mission." "Your ship humiliated the Valtharian Empire," Thane replied. "Such actions have consequences." "I see. And you believe 800 ships are sufficient to handle those consequences?" Emperor Thane laughed. "Captain Kim, even human arrogance has its limits. Look around you. Count the ships targeting your vessel." "I have, Your Majesty. I count 807 ships." The Emperor frowned. His tactical officer quickly rechecked the numbers. "Sir, we have exactly 800 ships in this fleet." "Then where are the other 7 ships?" Thane demanded. His answer came from his sensor operator. "Emperor, I am reading multiple contacts around the human vessel. They appear to be human ships." "That is impossible. Intelligence reports show only 1 human ship in this sector." "Sir, I now count 8 human vessels. No, wait, 12. The number keeps changing." On his own bridge, Supreme Commander Velthar was getting similar reports. "How many human ships are there?" he demanded. "Unknown, sir. The number varies between 5 and 20, depending on which sensors we use." Trademaster Corvin was experiencing the same confusion. His science officer reported 17 human ships, then 3, then 42. What none of them realized was that they were seeing the same ship from multiple angles. The Indomitable's holographic projection system was creating false sensor images, making one ship appear to be an entire fleet. Captain Kim opened a communication channel to all 3 commanders. "Gentlemen, I regret that you have forced this confrontation. But since you have brought banned antimatter weapons into this system, I am authorized to use all necessary force to defend this vessel and complete our diplomatic mission." "Banned weapons?" Emperor Thane tried to sound innocent. "I do not know what you mean." "Your Majesty, we have been monitoring your communications for the past 48 hours. We know exactly what weapons you are carrying and how you plan to use them." The 3 commanders exchanged glances over their communication links. How could the humans have intercepted their encrypted messages? Captain Kim continued speaking. "Since you insist on using weapons banned by Galactic Treaty, I am forced to respond with methods that have never been used in actual combat. I apologize in advance for what you are about to experience." "All ships attack formation," Emperor Thane ordered. 800 ships moved into attack position. But something strange began to happen. Ships on the outer edge of the formation started reporting system failures. "Emperor, we are losing contact with Battle Group 7, reported the communications officer. "What kind of contact?" "All contact, sir. Their ships are not responding to any communication attempts." Similar reports came in from all 3 fleets. Ships were simply disappearing from sensors, as if they had never existed. Lieutenant Minji Song, manning the tactical station on the Indomitable, calmly reported the situation to Captain Kim. Nanoscale disruptor deployment successful, Captain. First wave of enemy ships has been neutralized. Casualties? None, sir. All crew life support systems remain functional. The nanobots have disabled weapons, engines, and communications only. Excellent. Begin second wave deployment. What the Allied commanders did not understand was that the human ship had been releasing microscopic robots for the past hour. These nanobots were smaller than bacteria, invisible to normal sensors. They had quietly infiltrated the outer ships of the fleet and were systematically disabling key systems. All ships fall back to secondary formation, ordered Supreme Commander Velthar. But it was too late. The nanobots had already spread throughout the entire fleet. One by one, ships began losing power, weapons systems failing, communication arrays going silent. This is impossible, Trademaster Corvin said over the communication link. How are they doing this? His answer came from Weapons Officer Heejin Lee on the Indomitable. Captain, kinetic projectile system is ready. Fire when ready, Lieutenant. What? Looked like simple metal projectiles launched from the human ship toward the remaining active vessels. But these were no ordinary bullets. Each projectile contained millions of additional nanobots, programmed to disable specific ship systems without harming the crews. The projectiles struck their targets and seemed to do no damage. Then the ships began shutting down from the inside, out. Emperor, called out his tactical officer. The human projectiles are somehow disabling our ships from within. It is as if they are alive. Impossible. Launch antimatter torpedoes. All ships, maximum firepower. 200 ships launched their banned antimatter weapons toward the human vessel. The torpedoes streaked through space, carrying enough destructive power to crack a moon. Chief Gunner Seung-ho Park activated the quantum disruptor array. The antimatter torpedoes simply vanished. They did not explode. They did not hit anything. They just disappeared from normal space-time, as if they had never existed. Where did our torpedoes go? Emperor Thane demanded. Unknown, Emperor. They simply stopped existing. Admiral Kayuman Lee, watching from the Veltharian command ship, finally understood what was happening. Supreme Commander, he said quietly, we are not fighting a ship. What do you mean? We are fighting 200 years of human technological development. Every weapon we have used, every tactic we have tried, they have already studied it, analyzed it, and prepared countermeasures. That is impossible, Lee. Is it, sir? Think about it. Humans have been traveling the galaxy for 2 centuries. They have observed every major battle, every weapon system, every military strategy used by every empire. They have had 200 years to prepare for this exact scenario. Communications Officer Yoonji Ko on the Indomitable activated the fleet-wide broadcast system. Attention, ships of the Allied fleet. This is Communications Officer KO of the UES Indomitable. We have been monitoring your communications for the past 72 hours. We now present evidence of your illegal activities. Every ship in the Biawe Allied fleet received data transmissions containing private conversations between their leaders. Plans to use banned weapons. Discussions about destroying human colonies. Orders to enslave captured human crews. But worse than that, the transmissions included decades of intercepted communications from all 3 empires. Evidence of slavery operations. Records of genocide against smaller species. Proof of illegal weapon development. My God, whispered Admiral Keuman Lee. They have been watching us for decades. How is that possible? Velthar demanded. Because, sir, while we have been building empires and conquering territory, humans have been building something far more powerful. They have been building knowledge. Emperor Thane's flagship was one of the few ships still operational. His crew worked frantically to maintain basic systems as nanobots continued their systematic shutdown of all non-essential functions. Captain Kim, he called over the communication channel. What do you want? Captain Kim's reply was broadcast to every ship in the fleet. Your Majesty, I want you to understand something. This ship, the UES Indomitable, is not a warship. It is a diplomatic vessel. What you have experienced today represents approximately 1% of current human military capability. The communication channel fell silent. "We came here in peace," Captain Kim continued. "We requested safe passage for a diplomatic mission. You responded with overwhelming force and illegal weapons. You have learned today that such actions have consequences." "What happens now?" Trademaster Corvin asked quietly. "Now, gentlemen, you return to your homeworlds and consider what you have learned. Your fleets are disabled, but your crews are safe. We will release your ships in groups of 50, beginning in 6 hours. And then?" 25 minutes passed in tense silence. Admiral Zorvex watched the countdown timer on her command screen. The human ship had not changed course, speed, or heading. It continued toward Kepler Station as if 200 Valtharian warships were not surrounding it. "Status report," Admiral Zorvex ordered. "All ships in position," reported her tactical officer. "Weapons charged and ready. The human vessel shows no sign of powering weapons or shields." "Any communication from their ship?" "Nothing, Admiral. Complete radio silence." Admiral Zorvex studied the sensor readings. The human ship was smaller than most Valtharian cruisers. Its energy signature suggested normal power levels. No unusual heat patterns that might indicate hidden weapons charging. 5 minutes remaining, announced the communications officer. On the bridge of the UES Indomitable, Captain Do-hyun Kim sat calmly in his command chair. His crew worked quietly at their stations, showing no signs of panic or fear. "Captain," said Commander Ji-won Park, the diplomatic officer. "They seem serious about their threat." Captain Kim nodded. "I believe they are, Commander." "Lieutenant Song, what is your tactical assessment?" Lieutenant Minji Song, the ship's tactical officer, looked up from her console. 200 ships, sir. Mix of cruisers, destroyers, and frigates. 1 dreadnought-class vessel commanding the formation. Standard Valtharian weapons. Plasma cannons, particle beams, fusion missiles. Any signs they understand what they are dealing with? "No, sir. Their formation suggests they expect a conventional engagement. They have not adapted their tactics for our capabilities." Captain Kim sighed. He had hoped to avoid this situation. The diplomatic mission to Kepler Station was important, but not worth starting a war. Unfortunately, the Valtharians seemed determined to force the issue. "Time remaining?" he asked. 3 minutes, Captain." "Very well, begin defensive preparations, Protocol 7, minimal casualty settings." "Aye, sir. Protocol 7, minimal casualties." Lieutenant Song's fingers moved over her console, activating systems that had never been used in actual combat. Around the ship, hidden panels slid open. Sensor arrays extended from the hull. Deep inside the ship, computers began analyzing the Valtharian fleet in incredible detail. 1 minute remaining, announced the communications officer. Admiral Zorvex leaned forward in her chair. "All ships prepare to fire warning shots across their bow. If they do not surrender immediately after that, we will disable their engines." "Admiral," said her tactical officer, "I am reading some unusual energy signatures from the human ship." "What kind of signatures?" "Unknown, Admiral. Their power output is increasing, but not in any pattern I recognize." Admiral Zorvex frowned. "Weapons?" "I do not think so, Admiral. The energy is not focused in weapon-like configurations." 30 seconds. The countdown timer reached 0. Admiral Zorvex opened the communication channel. "Captain Kim, your time is up. This is your final chance to surrender." Captain Kim's voice came back immediately, still perfectly calm. "Admiral Zorvex, I regret that you have chosen this course of action. I am now implementing defensive measures. Please order your ships to withdraw to a safe distance." Admiral Zorvex almost laughed. "A safe distance, Captain? You are surrounded by 200 warships. There is no safe distance for you." "I was referring to the safety of your crews, Admiral." The communication channel went silent. Admiral Zorvex looked around her bridge. Her officers were staring at their displays with confusion. "Admiral," said her tactical officer, "the human ship is changing." "Changing how?" "Its hull configuration is shifting. I am reading massive power increases. And Admiral, they are scanning us." "Scanning us?" "Yes, Admiral. Deep scans of every ship in the fleet. They are analyzing our weapons, our shield frequencies, our power systems. The detail is incredible. Admiral Zorvex stood up from her chair. All ships fire warning shots. Show them we are serious. 50 ships opened fire simultaneously. Plasma bolts and particle beams streaked toward the human vessel. The coordinated attack was precise, close enough to demonstrate their firepower, but not close enough to cause damage. The energy beams struck something invisible around the human ship and simply disappeared. What just happened? Admiral Zorvex demanded. Her tactical officer was frantically checking his instruments. The human ship has some kind of shielding, Admiral, but not like anything in our databases. Our weapons did not even create visible impacts. How is that possible? Unknown, Admiral. The shield technology appears to be adaptive. It is analyzing our weapons and configuring itself to counter them. On the Indomitable's bridge, Lieutenant Song reported to Captain Kim. Defensive grid is active, Captain. Their weapons are conventional plasma and particle designs. The reactive defense matrix has analyzed and cataloged all energy signatures. We can now counter any attack from this fleet. Damage to our systems? None, Captain. Their weapons cannot penetrate our shielding with current configurations. Captain Kim opened a communication channel to the Valtharian fleet. Admiral Zorvex, you have now fired on a diplomatic vessel operating under interstellar law. I strongly urge you to withdraw your forces before this situation escalates further. Admiral Zorvex was furious. All ships concentrated fire on the human vessel. Full power. This time, 100 ships opened fire at once. The space around the Indomitable lit up like a star as plasma bolts and energy beams converged on the small human ship. The attack continued for 30 seconds, enough firepower to destroy a small moon. When the energy dissipated, the human ship was completely undamaged. Admiral, her tactical officer said quietly, our weapons are having no effect. If anything, their shielding appears to be getting stronger. That is impossible. The human ship is adapting to our attacks in real time. Each time we fire, their shields become more effective against our weapons. Admiral Zorvex slammed her fist on her chair. Launch missiles. All ships. Full missile barrage. 200 ships launched their missiles simultaneously. Over 3,000 fusion warheads streaked toward the human vessel. It was enough explosive power to crack a planet's crust. The missiles never reached their target. As they approached the Indomitable, they simply stopped moving and hung motionless in space. Admiral, the tactical officer said, his voice shaking, they have somehow frozen our missiles in flight. What? The missiles are not destroyed, Admiral. They are just stopped, as if time has been slowed around them. On the Indomitable, Lieutenant Song was monitoring the situation calmly. Captain, all incoming missiles have been caught by the temporal displacement field. What are your orders? Captain Kim considered for a moment. Send them back, Lieutenant, unarmed and depowered. Let the Valtharians recover their own weapons. Aye, sir. The 3,000 missiles suddenly reversed direction and flew back toward the Valtharian ships. But as Lieutenant Song had promised, they were now harmless. Their warheads deactivated. Their guidance systems shut down. The Valtharian crews watched in amazement as their own weapons returned to them like obedient pets. Admiral Zorvex sat in stunned silence. In 30 years of military service, she had never seen anything like this. The human ship had not fired a single weapon, yet it had neutralized the combined firepower of 200 warships. Admiral, her communications officer said quietly, we are receiving a transmission from the human ship. Put it through. Captain Kim's voice filled the bridge, still calm and polite. Admiral Zorvex, I believe I have demonstrated that your weapons cannot harm my vessel. However, I have no desire to harm yours. I am offering you one final opportunity to withdraw your forces and allow us to continue our diplomatic mission. Admiral Zorvex found her voice. What are you? I am Captain Do-Hyun Kim of the United Earthship Indomitable. We are peaceful explorers and diplomats, but we are not defenseless. Your technology, how is it possible? Admiral, my government does not share classified technical information with foreign powers. I can tell you that we mean no harm to your empire or your people. We simply wish to pass through your space peacefully. Admiral Zorvex looked around her bridge. Her officers were staring at their instruments in disbelief. Every tactical display showed the same impossible truth. Their most powerful weapons had been rendered completely useless by a single human ship. "All ships," she said slowly, "maintain position but cease fire." She opened a private communication channel to speak with Captain Kim. "Captain, I need to report this situation to my superiors. Can you give me some time?" "Of course. Admiral, we are not in a hurry. Take all the time you need." As Admiral Zorvex ended the communication, she realized that everything the Valtharian Empire believed about humans was wrong. They were not a weak, primitive species. They were something far more dangerous, a species that had been hiding their true capabilities. And now the Valtharians had just learned what those capabilities were. The news spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Within 6 hours, every major empire had received reports about the incident in Valtharian space. A single human ship had made 200 Valtharian warships look helpless. Emperor Thane of the Zephyrian Confederation read the report 3 times before he believed it. The Zephyrians had been enemies of humanity for 50 years, ever since humans had refused to surrender mining rights to several asteroids. The Emperor had always planned to deal with the human problem eventually. "Is this report accurate?" he asked his intelligence chief. "Yes, Your Majesty. We have confirmed it through multiple sources. The Valtharians are calling it a technological malfunction, but our spies say their crews are terrified." Emperor Thane stood up from his throne and walked to the great window overlooking his capital city. Millions of Zephyrian citizens went about their daily lives unaware that everything had changed. "What do we know about this human ship?" "Very little, Your Majesty. The humans call it a diplomatic vessel, but clearly it is much more than that." "One ship," the Emperor muttered. "How many ships do the humans have in total?" "Perhaps 1,000, Your Majesty. Maybe 1,500 at most. Their space is small." Emperor Thane made his decision. "Contact the Valtharian Empire and the Nexari Trade Union. Tell them I wish to discuss a matter of mutual interest." Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, Trademaster Corvin of the Nexari Union was having similar thoughts. The Nexari were merchants and traders, but they had a powerful military to protect their business interests. They had always seen humans as competitors who undercut Nexari prices with superior products. "The humans have been hiding their true capabilities," Corvin told his war council. "This changes everything." "What do you suggest, Trademaster?" asked Admiral Rexon. "If one human ship can do this, imagine what their entire fleet could do. We must act now, before they decide to expand their territory." "Act how?" "The same way we have dealt with every other competitor. We eliminate them." Within 12 hours, representatives from 3 empires met in secret on a neutral space station. Emperor Thane, Supreme Commander Velthar, and Trademaster Corvin sat around a circular table in a room shielded from all outside communication. "Gentlemen," Emperor Thane began, "we face a common threat. The humans have made fools of us all," Velthar said bitterly. "My fleet is returning to base with their tails between their legs. Morale is at an all-time low. This cannot be allowed to continue," Trademaster Corvin added. "If other species see that humans can challenge major empires, our authority will collapse." "What do you propose?" Velthar asked. Emperor Thane leaned forward. "A joint operation. My confederation has 400 ships. The Nexari Union has 300. Your empire has 600. Together we can field a force of 1,300 vessels." "Against one ship?" Velthar sounded skeptical. "Against one ship that defeated 200 of your best vessels," Thane reminded him. "And we must assume they have more ships like it." "The humans claim this was a diplomatic vessel," Corvin said. "If their diplomats carry such weapons, what do their military ships have?" The 3 leaders sat in uncomfortable silence. None of them wanted to admit how badly they had underestimated humanity. "There is another consideration," Velthar said finally. "My human advisor, Admiral Lee, has been studying their technology. He believes they may have been watching us for much longer than we realized." "Watching us how?" Our communications, our ship movements, our military exercises. Lee thinks the humans have been gathering intelligence on all of our empires for decades. Emperor, Thane felt a chill run through him. If that is true, they know all of our weaknesses, which is why we must act quickly, Corvin said, before they are ready for a full-scale war. The three leaders made their plans. The combined fleet would consist of 800 ships from all three empires. They would use banned antimatter, weapons that could destroy entire planets if necessary. The human ship would not escape this time, but they made one crucial mistake. They assumed the human ship was still alone. 2 days later, on the bridge of the UES Indomitable, Dr. Sohyun Choi was analyzing intercepted communications. As the ship's chief science officer, she was responsible for monitoring threats to the mission. "Captain," she called out, "we have a problem." Captain Kim walked over to her station. "What have you found, Doctor?" "3 empires are forming an alliance against us. The Veltharians, Zephyrians, and Nixari are combining their fleets." "How many ships?" 800, sir. "And Captain, they are planning to use antimatter weapons." Captain Kim's expression darkened. Antimatter weapons had been banned by Galactic Treaty for good reason. They were too powerful and too dangerous. A single antimatter torpedo could turn a planet into radioactive dust. "Are you certain?" "Yes, sir. I have decoded their communications. They plan to intercept us in the Sigma Draconis system. If we do not surrender, they will destroy us and claim it was self-defense." Captain Kim walked to his command chair and activated the secure communication system. "Get me Fleet Admiral Nam at Earth Defense Command. Priority Alpha encryption." The communication took several minutes to establish. When Fleet Admiral Jaehyun Nam's face appeared on the screen, he looked tired and worried. "Captain Kim, we have been monitoring the situation. How bad is it?" 3 empires, 800 ships, antimatter weapons," Captain Kim replied. "They are planning to make an example of us." Admiral Nam was quiet for a long moment. "Captain, you are authorized to implement full deterrent protocol." "Sir, are you certain?" Full deterrent protocol was designed for a worst-case scenario. "Captain, this is a worst-case scenario. If we allow 3 empires to destroy a diplomatic mission with banned weapons, every species in the galaxy will think humans can be bullied. Show them why no empire has ever successfully invaded Earth." "Understood. Sir, full deterrent protocol authorized." Captain Kim ended the communication and turned to his crew. "All hands, this is the captain. We are now under full deterrent protocol. Chief Engineer Yang, please report to the bridge." Engineer Tae-hoon Yang arrived 2 minutes later. He was a quiet man who rarely spoke unless asked a direct question. But he was the finest engineer in the Earth fleet. "Chief, I need you to activate the systems we have never used in combat." Yang nodded. "The experimental systems, Captain?" "All of them. Quantum disruptors, temporal manipulation, nanoscale weapons, holographic fleet projection, everything." "Captain, some of those systems are still in testing phase. Chief, in 12 hours we will face 800 ships armed with antimatter weapons. Testing phase is over." Yang saluted. "Aye, sir. How long do I have?" 10 hours until they reach weapons range." "I will have everything ready, Captain." As Yang left the bridge, Lieutenant Song looked up from her tactical station. "Captain, should I inform Earth Command about our situation?" Captain Kim shook his head. "No, Lieutenant. Earth Command already knows. Admiral Nam made it clear. We are on our own out here. But we are not just representing Earth anymore. We are representing every small species that has ever been bullied by a major empire." "Sir, what exactly is full deterrent protocol?" Captain Kim smiled, but it was not a pleasant expression. "Lieutenant, full deterrent protocol is what happens when humanity stops being polite." He turned to address the entire crew over the ship's communication system. "All hands, this is Captain Kim. In 10 hours, we will face the largest fleet ever, assembled against a single ship. They plan to use weapons banned by galactic law. They believe they can intimidate us into submission." He paused for a moment. "They are wrong. For 200 years, humanity has explored the galaxy peacefully, We have traded fairly with all species. We have respected the territory and rights of every empire we have encountered, but we have not been idle. Another pause. Today the galaxy will learn what we have been building. Today they will understand why Earth has never needed an empire. Today they will see what happens when humans stop hiding their true capabilities. As the crew prepared for battle, Captain Kim sat in his command chair and thought about the irony of the situation. The aliens thought they were fighting to prevent human expansion. They had no idea that they were actually fighting to preserve their own empires. Because after today, everything was going to change. 1 week later, the Galactic Council chambers had never been so crowded. Representatives from every major empire and dozens of smaller species filled the massive hall. The news of what happened in the Sigma Draconis system had spread to every corner of the galaxy. Emperor Thane sat in his designated seat, still struggling to understand what his empire had experienced. His fleet had limped home in small groups, their crews traumatized and their confidence shattered. Half of his military officers had requested transfers to civilian duties. Supreme Commander Velthar had fared no better. The mighty Valtharian Empire, which had controlled 300 star systems through military might, now seemed fragile and uncertain. Many of their subject species were quietly questioning whether they still needed to obey Valtharian rule. Trademaster Corvin had lost more than ships. The Nexari trade union's reputation for invincibility had been destroyed. Several of their commercial partners were already renegotiating contracts, demanding better terms now that the Nexari military seemed less threatening. The great doors opened with their familiar rumble. But instead of alien dignitaries, 2 humans walked into the chamber. Captain Do-Yun Kim and Commander Ji-Won Park moved calmly to the central speaking platform, seemingly unbothered by the hundreds of eyes watching their every move. "Honored delegates," Commander Park began, her voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. "I am Commander Ji-Won Park, diplomatic representative of the United Earth Federation. This is Captain Kim of the UES Indomitable." Murmurs filled the hall. Many of the delegates had never seen humans before. They looked surprisingly ordinary, smaller than most species, no visible natural weapons, no intimidating physical features. "We came here for peaceful negotiations," Commander Park continued. "Instead, we were forced to defend ourselves against illegal weapons and overwhelming military force. We regret that this situation occurred, but we hope it has been educational for all involved." Counselor Morphex of the Andromedan League stood up. "Commander Park, the galaxy demands an explanation. What technology did you use against our fleets? How is it possible that one ship defeated 800 vessels?" Commander Park glanced at Captain Kim, who nodded slightly. "Counselor Morphex, for 200 years, humanity has been exploring the galaxy peacefully. During that time, we have observed every major military engagement, studied every weapon system, analyzed every tactical doctrine used by every empire represented in this chamber." She activated a holographic display that showed the galactic map. "We have watched empires rise and fall. We have seen species enslaved and worlds destroyed. We have documented every violation of galactic law, every act of aggression, every abuse of power by major governments." The display showed hundreds of incidents: Valtharian conquest campaigns, Zephyrian slave raids, Nexari economic warfare against smaller species. "While you have been building empires through conquest, we have been building something far more valuable. We have been building understanding." Emperor Thane could not remain silent. "Understanding? You destroyed our fleets with understanding?" Captain Kim stepped forward. "Your Majesty, we did not destroy your fleets. Your ships are damaged but repairable. Your crews are alive and unharmed. If we had wanted to destroy you, this conversation would not be taking place. Then what did you do to us?" "We demonstrated that military force is no longer an effective tool for galactic dominance. The age of conquest is over, whether the empires accept it or not." Counselor Wanbin Yu, Earth senior diplomat, rose from his seat. He was an elderly man who had spent 50 years serving in various galactic diplomatic posts. "Honored delegates," Counselor Yu said, "my government has authorized me to announce a new policy regarding galactic affairs." The chamber fell completely silent. Effective immediately, the United Earth Federation is establishing a protective Fleet. This fleet will ensure that no empire can conquer or oppress smaller civilizations. Any species that attempts aggressive expansion will face the same response that was given to the Three-Empire Alliance. The implications hit the delegates like a physical blow. Emperor Thane stood up. "You cannot police the entire galaxy." "Your Majesty," Counselor Yu replied calmly, "we have been policing the entire galaxy for decades. The only difference is that now we are doing it openly." Supreme Commander Velthar found his voice. "What gives you the right?" Captain Kim answered. "The same right that allowed you to conquer 300 star systems, Supreme Commander. The right of superior capability. The difference is that we use our capabilities to protect rather than to conquer." Trademaster Corvin spoke up. "And if we refuse to accept this new order?" Commander Park smiled. "Trademaster, you are free to refuse. But you should understand that refusal means continuing the old ways. Military aggression, conquest, oppression of smaller species. And as you have seen, those methods are no longer effective." A new voice spoke from the back of the chamber. Admiral Cumin Lee had requested permission to address the Council as an independent observer, no longer representing the Valtharian Empire. "May I speak?" Lee asked. Counselor Yu nodded. The Council recognizes Admiral Lee. Lee walked to the central platform. His fellow humans nodded respectfully to him. "Honored delegates, I have served the Valtharian Empire for 20 years. I have seen their military might from the inside. I have also seen what happens when that might encounters human capabilities." He turned to address the entire chamber. "I tried to warn my commanders about the danger of underestimating humanity. They did not listen. They believed that superior numbers and firepower would be enough." Lee paused, looking around the room. "I was wrong too. I thought the humans were simply more advanced technologically. But what I witnessed in the Sigma Draconis system was not just advanced technology, it was advanced thinking." "Explain," requested Counselor Morphex. "Every weapon we used, every tactic we tried, the humans had already anticipated it. They did not just counter our attacks. They understood our attacks better than we did. They knew exactly how our weapons worked, exactly how our tactics would unfold, exactly how our commanders would react." Lee turned to look at Captain Kim. "Captain, how long have you been preparing for that exact battle?" "Approximately 40 years, Admiral. Our strategic planning computers have been running simulations of multi-empire alliance scenarios since 2347. And you knew we would bring antimatter weapons? We calculated a 73% probability that you would escalate to banned weapons when conventional tactics failed." Emperor Thane slammed his fist on his chair. "You manipulated us into that battle." Captain Kim shook his head. "Your Majesty, we gave you every opportunity to avoid that battle. We requested safe passage. We offered to negotiate. We warned you multiple times about the consequences of aggressive action. You chose to escalate the situation at every step. But you were prepared for our escalation." "Yes, Your Majesty. We were prepared for every possible escalation. That is what preparation means." Counselor Yu activated another holographic display. This one showed the Sol system, humanity's home territory. But something was different. The space around Earth, Mars, and the outer planets was filled with massive construction projects. "Delegates, I am authorized to show you this classified information so that you understand the new reality." The display zoomed in on the construction sites. Hundreds of ships were being built, ships that dwarfed anything in the current galactic fleets. "These are the shipyards of the United Earth Federation," Counselor Yu announced. "Each of the vessels under construction is similar to the UES Indomitable. When complete, we will have a fleet of 300 ships with the same capabilities you witnessed last week." The chamber erupted in shocked voices and frightened whispers. "But that is not the important number," Counselor Yu continued, waiting for quiet. "The important number is 0. 0. 0 conquered worlds. 0 enslaved species. 0 aggressive wars. 0 violations of galactic law. That is humanity's record after 2 centuries of galactic presence." He looked around the chamber. "Compare that to any empire represented here." President Soyoung Lim appeared on the communication screen. a direct transmission from Earth. She was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes, but her voice carried absolute authority. "Citizens of the galaxy," President Lim began, "for 2 centuries humanity has watched the rise and fall of galactic empires. We have seen species enslaved, worlds destroyed, and civilizations wiped out by those who believed that might makes right." Her image filled the giant display screen. "We have waited patiently for the galactic community to mature beyond conquest and oppression. We hoped that advanced civilizations would eventually choose cooperation over domination." She paused, her expression becoming stern. "That hope has proven naive. Therefore, humanity will now actively ensure galactic peace. We will protect those who cannot protect themselves. We will stop those who would conquer others. We will enforce the laws that the galactic community has created but failed to uphold." The transmission ended, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. Admiral Human Lee broke the silence. "Delegates, I have something to confess. 20 years ago, I was captured in battle and forced to serve the Valtharian Empire. For 20 years, I have dreamed of returning to human space." He looked around the room,